It's one of the best times of the year if you're a basketball fan, y'all. As you can see on my TV over here, we've got plenty of basketball going on, and I can't turn it off at any points of the day. But yeah, anyway, it's March Madness right now. We're all excited. March Madness is probably one of the best things you can watch. Even me, who, being a former college basketball coach that's been a part of March Madness, it's a crazy cool thing to be a part of. But even I, who am very critical of college basketball, can't not stop and watch every single game that's happening. But with March Madness being a thing, this also makes us think about the upcoming NBA draft, and especially for our teams that aren't going to be a part of the playoffs or the play-in, who are these guys going to be bringing into their teams next year? Some of them are even playing today. But yeah, Bleacher Report put out another mock draft, so I figured I'd react to it. Some people were actually asking me questions about it regarding some of the guys at the top, and so I figured we could talk about it. Before I go any further, though, call to action. YouTube gave me another report card and said I still don't do enough calls to action. So please subscribe, comment, like, do all those things. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs soon. That'd be pretty cool. But anyway, that's enough of that nonsense. Let's talk about the mock draft, and Alex Sarr is still at the top, and he'd be going to the Washington Wizards. I think that's probably the right choice if the Wizards have this pick. They just need talent all around, so you take the best player available. I don't know if Alex Sarr projects to be like an all-around superstar in the NBA. Oh, I can almost guarantee you he doesn't project that way. That's not what we see out of him. What we do see is, one, just a dog, right? Dude is all up in everybody's face. He's talking, clapping, doing all that, being 7'1". The effort is there on the defensive end. We've seen that. The skills are there on the defensive end. For the limited amount of minutes that you get, and I should clarify, overseas, because he's from France, a lot of times they give minutes based off seniority. That's why Luka didn't get a ton of minutes before he came into the league. Alex Sarr only got I want to say it was 18 to 20 minutes in the French league playoffs or whatever, but he was a huge contributor. He can guard perimeter guys. He guards the rim extremely well, very athletic, and we've seen enough, we'll say, potential from three to where people are like, okay, we can turn this guy into a little bit of scorer if we throw him into an NBA system. Yeah, Alex Sarr still at the top of the mock draft, doesn't surprise me at all. And then we got Rob Dillingham, a guy that doesn't even start on his college team, going number 2 to the... Oh, no, see, you're already wrong, to the Pistons. No, that's not happening. They would trade back if that was the case, or they would take Risacher. Risacher? Is that how you say it? Zaccharie Risacher? I know somebody has explained this to me in the comments before. I was calling him Risacher before, and I asked how do you say it, and people are saying it's Risacher, something like that. But no, they're not taking another guard. Rob Dillingham, awesome player. He can score, he can play make. I'm not surprised he's rising in the draft at all. Picking him number 2 seems kind of intense, but this isn't a crazy good draft class. But yeah, we've seen him be an elite shot creator, a great ball distributor. He's on a very good Kentucky team this year. That's why he's coming off the bench. He's a little bit younger than some of the lead guards. I don't know why the Pistons would be taking him there. That doesn't really make any sense. They already have Ivy and Cunningham. I'm almost positive they'd take Risacher. That just seems like the connecting piece between Cunningham, Asar Thompson, Ivy, and Duren. That just seem to make perfect sense. You slide him in at the 4 as a floor spacer that can maybe attack off closeouts, and I don't know, that just seems to make sense to me. But shout out to Dillingham, man, for rising up the ranks. Does anyone else think Armando Bacot is a little bit overrated, or is that just me? Sorry, I got a little bit distracted. Don't worry about it. Reed Sheppard going 3. So Reed Sheppard just keeps climbing the ranks. Another guy coming off the bench for his college team on Kentucky as well. But man, he has been an electric player. It really do be the year of electric Caucasian players, man. I don't know what to tell you, but some of these white boys be killing it out there. But yeah, no, Reed Sheppard. We did a whole breakdown on him. Go check. I'm going to put a little link in this video. Go check it around here somewhere. Go watch the video on the breakdown we did on Reed Sheppard. But what I concluded is I could see him being a very good off-ball player. I don't know where he fits in defensively on the court because based on his size, he has to play point guard, but I don't know if he has the point guard abilities. His finishing ability is actually pretty good because he gets up really well for his size. Shot form is awesome. He's a little bit weird going to his right, but I mean, he's shooting 45% from 3 on a hell of a lot of attempts, so we can't complain at all about the results that we're getting, so I won't nitpick that. But again, who is he going to defend? I know he's blocking shots and getting steals. That's awesome. That means he's really smart. But at the end of the day, if a guy like a D'Angelo Russell or something is kind of playing slow ball with him, and you're not going to just rip it from D'Angelo Russell, right? And I'm using him as an example because he's not the best athlete, but he's going to completely strong arm him and just shoot over him or something like that. That's where I get a little bit concerned, and that's where I have some hesitancy. I also don't see him being an elite player in the NBA. I see him as a potential to be a nice offensive role player. So I'm not sure I'm taking him with the third pick, but I understand why the Spurs in this situation maybe would do that. I, again, am a little higher on Risacher in this position. Speak of the devil, there's Risacher himself. So the way that I've been describing Risacher is like Michael Porter Jr., but like he can attack the rim a little bit more. Pro comparison, Harrison Barnes. I don't really see that one very much, but yeah, no, size, he's like 6'8", 6'9". He shoots the lights out, mostly on catch and shoots. He's not doing a lot of creating. That's why the Michael Porter Jr. comparison, I think, is a good one. His catch and shoot numbers are like 45% from three, and I think he shoots like 43% from three overall. So like, dude can light it up, and he's a very good athlete. Like, I've seen him move up and down the court in transition. Looks really smooth, right? Like, I wouldn't say he's an elite ball handler yet, but there's definitely the potential there. He's young, right? And so we see a little bit more athletic potential out of him. And that's why, like, I just feel like that's going to translate well to the NBA. And especially if he goes to a team like the Spurs. They have him going to the Hornets here, which, let's think about that. So he would play like the 4 or something, presuming Miles Bridges is going to like dip from Charlotte. And then you got LaMelo, Brandon, and him. Like, it's an interesting team. You don't have to do a ton of ball handling, I guess, if some of those other dudes are on the team. But I don't know. If I'm the Spurs, I have a hard time passing on this dude. But I think you could slide him in just about on any team. So, I mean, I could support the Hornets take him here. If he falls to 4, I think you got to steal. Also, is this Joffrey Laverne? I haven't seen him in a minute. Shout out Joffrey Laverne. Who else we got? Cody Williams. All right. I like me some Cody Williams. J-Dub's brother, for those of you that didn't know, the guy for the Thunder. But Cody Williams been moving up the draft a lot. We see him as, and I should say I see him as a secondary ball handler in the NBA that's playing the wing, that can play some really good defense, that can play make a little bit. I don't see him being like a primary ball handler, like a Jason Tatum type on the wing, but like, let's say he ended up on the Memphis Grizzlies, which is an example I've used before. Desmond Bane, not a great ball handler. You don't really put it in Jaren Jackson Jr.'s hands or like a center. Ja obviously has the ball first. I think Cody Williams fits into that role as the next ball handler on the team. Throwing him on Portland, while positionally makes sense, like, you'd have to reconstruct the roster a lot for this to make sense with Scoot Henderson, because Cody Williams hasn't exactly been, like, electric from 3. I see him as more of a guy that, like, attacks closeouts or something like that, backdoors people, and gets a nice pass from somebody. And if you've got DeAndre Ayton just floating around the middle of the court the whole time, you can't really do that. So, I don't know, but I like Cody Williams a lot. I think he translates well to the NBA, and I don't see him on the Trailblazers. BYU's down 3 with 17 seconds left. Prepare for everybody's brackets to be busted. This is what y'all get for not wanting to play on Sundays. Number 6, Ron Holland Jr. to Toronto. That's just a bad fit already. Like, you're basically photocopying RJ Barrett. So I've described Ron Holland as right-handed RJ Barrett, and I like RJ Barrett, don't get me wrong. I think people can see star potential in Ron Holland because he looks like a prototypical NBA player, right? Big, strong, athletic, plays nice defense. He was scoring well in the G League. Little note here, everybody scores well in the G League. That's kind of what it is. The G League is basically just NBA AAU. What we didn't see is like a very consistent jump shot from him, and so that's the concern, and that's kind of where the RJ Barrett comparison comes in as well. So I don't think it makes sense to put him on the Toronto Raptors, and they just kind of have a logjam at that position already. So I don't think that pick makes a ton of sense. I'd like to see them maybe go get like a true center to start developing, and maybe they can move on from Pirtle. But I like Ron Holland as a player. I'd be curious to see him develop in the right system. I don't know what that system is. If I look at some other picks, maybe like Memphis or something like that makes a little bit more sense for him, just because they don't have anybody on the wing right now, and I don't see Gigi Jackson moving up like that far on their list, so I'd maybe see him as a better fit there. Speaking of Memphis, Matas Buzelis. Okay, so like in full transparency, I've been pretty low on Buzelis for most of my time talking about this year's draft class and everything. I don't see it out of him. And I'm not saying he can't be like a quality NBA player. I'm not even saying he can't be a superstar, right? Like, I'm more than capable of being wrong. I've been wrong before. A lot of the things actually that I said I don't like about Buzelis are things that I said about Chet Holmgren, and Chet Holmgren has now completely proved me wrong. Not that he's a perfect player or anything, but you know what I'm saying, right? Like, I didn't think he would be that impactful that much early. But some of the things I don't like about Buzelis, I don't think like he's really that athletic. Like, he doesn't really move that fast. He's not strong enough if he can't blow by people to like force his way into a shot. I think he's a nice jump shooter, which is cool. Like, obviously the height and everything makes for an interesting stretch 4. project, but I don't know if he can ever be a guy that's going to create. And I think that's what people would kind of hope for in him. And that's what he can do in the G League. But I don't see that being a thing that translates to the NBA very well. And just looking at his body, I don't see him filling out like all that much either. And if you're Memphis with this pick, right, you might be looking to trade it if you, like, this is the spot that you end up with. Give it to somebody else that's more interested. You can go get yourself a more proven player than Buzelis, but I don't know, kind of an interesting thought. But yeah, not too high on him right now. I hope I'm wrong. I root for everybody to do well. Houston Rockets, Nikola Topic, I've heard people call it both things. And so he was a guy that was originally in like the top 3 for most of the season, and then he moved up into the big leagues of EuroLeague, and he got hurt, and we haven't seen him play in like 2 months. And from the little bit of film that I've seen of him, attacks the rim ferociously. He's big. He sees passing lanes very well. Not much of a shooter. He has shot well in the little bit that he has, but it's not on a high volume or anything, but clearly a very smart basketball player. I don't know what he would do for the Houston Rockets. I feel like they've got enough guys that maybe aren't like the best shooters in the world, and I feel like they're kind of set at point guard between like Fred and Amen, and maybe they bring Aaron Holiday back or something. So this doesn't really seem like a big need for them, but maybe they're going off the fact that like, hey, he fell in the draft and people are kind of low on him now. Maybe we're just trying to bring more basketball IQ in. So I could see that, but we're going to just need to see a lot more film on Topic, however you say. I'm going to call him Topic. And I don't know. We'll have to make an assessment later. I just haven't seen enough of him. Utah Jazz, Stephon Castle. Yeah, the UConn boys are shooting up the charts right now. So Stephon Castle is the typical American wing coming out of college right now, meaning nice athlete, like usually has a decent handle on the basketball, can't shoot because these guys in AAU have just been running up and down the court the whole time and they never learned how to develop like an actual jump shot. But what I like out of Stephon Castle is like his size and physicality. I think he could come into the NBA and be a really good defender right away. I don't know what he's going to do creation-wise. The good news at UConn is they usually develop very fundamentally sound basketball players, and he does have a decent handle on him. So maybe something comes out of that. But throwing him on the Utah Jazz, like they need wings. Like after losing Fontecchio, they haven't really found something to like replace it. So I like the fit of Utah a lot, and I don't blame them for moving Castle up the list because there is just a lot of physical potential there that if you develop him well, and is it Will Hardy in Utah, right? I think that's who it is. Why can't I can picture his face. I was watching that Jazz Thunder game last night, and I wanted to do a video about like, oh my gosh, I finally saw Taylor Hendricks play basketball, right? But no, I trust in the developmental process there that they got going on, so I like that. Number 10, Donovan Clingan, the other UConn boy. I'm huge on Clingan. I've been saying it since like he was a freshman last year at UConn. Walker Kessler type, not just because they look similar and obviously they're big dudes that block shots, but like he moves like pretty well for his size. Like I think he comes in, becomes a nice backup shot blocker right away. This is a guy that if like the Thunder had a pick right here, this would make a ton of sense for them to just go get to backup Chet. Gives them just a little bit more of a traditional big look. But throwing him on the Hawks, like what does that mean? It means you're trying to trade Clint Capella this offseason most likely, and then you've got a Kongwu still who's about to start his contract. So I don't know how much sense that makes, but I know you're trying to build defense around Trey, so I guess I get that. But yeah, no, I like Clingan a lot. What do we got next? Oklahoma City Thunder via the Rockets. That's right. Devin Carter out of Providence. Yeah, the point guard for them. Definitely not taking a point guard unless they're trading it, especially with how successful Cason Wallace has proven to be, which we should do a video on Cason Wallace's defense at some point. He is a menace. Like, don't ever try to drive on Cason Wallace. He is taking that basketball from everybody right now. But Devin Carter, kind of a similar player, actually. He's been putting up a lot of scoring numbers as the primary ball handler for Providence. They didn't make the tournament, which sucks. But what's so interesting about him is his defensive intensity. Like, really, like, got that dog in him type dude. So, like, if he got drafted, like, by a Miami Heat or an Oklahoma City Thunder, I'd be like, well, that guy's just going to work out, right? A good culture, it's going to work out. I know he blocked something like 30 shots this year, and he grabbed, like, a stupid, like, 7 or 8 rebounds a game for being, like, 6'2", 6'3". So that alone just tells you, like, you're getting a hard-ass worker and a guy that can handle the basketball. That just screams, like, yeah, you should be on an NBA roster right now. Yeah, I don't see the Thunder picking him specifically, but I think culturally it's a fit. So, I don't know. We'll have to see who else can maybe pick him up. Number 12, there's my Chicago Bulls, and I actually like this pick a lot in Terrence Shannon Jr. So, let's get this out of the way right now. Terrence Shannon Jr. had some off-the-court issues. I'm pretty sure all that stuff was dropped, so we're not going to hold anything against him because that's just how it was. Let's hope that that's the end of problems for him. Terrence Shannon Jr. might be the most talented player in March Madness this year. I say that because I think he's the best scorer there is out there. I think he's a 3-level scorer. He's definitely the best transition player in the tournament. Like, I feel like a lot of young guys nowadays, like, they don't know the right way to get up and down the court, like, as far as, like, handling the ball. He gets the rebound and just can take off and take you to the rim and score every single time. I think he's actually very electric. And if Illinois goes on, like, a run, I really think his draft stock could shoot up past the top 10. Because he figures to slide in as like a 2, maybe a 3. And I think he's got the frame and body size to really like become a nice NBA defender as well. So I don't know. I want to see him on the Bulls. Like, I kind of like that. Like, obviously my hope for the Bulls is that they just kind of move on from a lot of those pieces this year, but I wouldn't mind bringing in a Terrence Shannon just because, like, there's a lot of potential there. All right, only a couple picks left in the lottery. Isaiah Collier back in it, and for the New Orleans Pelicans. Kind of an interesting pick considering they have CJ McCollum and Alvarado, but I would assume they're picking it based off the potential of him being a starting NBA point guard one day. Do they really have him at 6'5", 210? Wow, that's really big for a freshman. Y'all don't even understand how big that is. Tyreke Evans, that's a really interesting comparison. So I'm not as high on Collier as maybe like other scouts are, mostly because I feel like if you're turning the ball over in college a lot, I don't know what you're going to do come the NBA. I just don't think he's got the processing speed to really figure it out as a point guard, and he's not a great shooter. But man, he can attack the rim. He's super athletic, right? Like, it's kind of what I was describing before. Some of these newer, younger guards, like, they're all about transition, fast break, and they don't really have many of the other, like, basketball skills to really contribute. And so I don't know who's giving him the keys right when he gets in the NBA to just, like, run the show off the bench or something like that, but he's going to turn the ball over a lot, so like, why would you do that? And he can't really play off ball because he's not a great shooter and he's not that smart. At least right now he doesn't have it. You can build on it, right? Because there's an athletic body here, but I don't know. I struggle to really support him that much and be like, yeah, I think he's going to be a great NBA player. And yeah, I just don't see him fitting on the Pelicans. That just doesn't make sense. They need as much shooting and ball handling as they can get on that team. Then number 14, Kyle Filipowski. Yeah, another Duke guy that loves to trip people, but no. Filipowski, pretty simple, kind of a Frank Kaminsky type. Can shoot the ball a little bit. Nice defender, nice rebounder, big fella, right? Second-year player coming out of college. Yeah, he's obviously a physical presence, getting a 7-footer with that kind of size and weight and coordination under him. That's a good thing. I like the idea of putting him in Portland as being a floor spacing big. I think that'd be really interesting next to Scoot Henderson. He's got great hands, so playing in the pick and roll with him, which is where Scoot Henderson has actually been like quietly a really positive player this year, I think would be really interesting. Baylor Shireman is putting the work in right now. All right, so that's the lottery. I'm going to go through and just skim and see if there's any other players I'm really all that interested in. You know, we can talk about Connect really quick. Great scorer, elite. Just going out there and getting buckets. I don't know what else he really does that well, honestly, which, like, scoring is cool and everything, and there could be a role in the NBA for that if you just want to come in and shoot, be a Pat Connaughton type, especially because he's got some dog mentality. I've told you this is the year of the killer white boys, but yeah, I think this is probably the perfect spot for him going to Miami. They love dogs. You bring him in here, you've just got another dog on the team. Tyler Smith is a really interesting prospect to me because when I watch the film, a check mark goes off in my head, which in my mind means that I've got like a gut feeling going on that he's going to be a decent NBA player. I don't know what that is about me. Like, some people are trying to figure out if he's a good shooter, if he's not a good shooter, can he handle the ball? Can he play like the stretch 4, maybe even the 3? I don't know. Whatever it is, when I watch him, I like him. So just keep that in mind. Something about him just, you know, turns the wheels for me. Zach Edey, obviously an interesting one. We did a whole video on that one as well, so go check it out. It's in the same channel as the Reed Sheppard video. I'm a little bit higher on him than I would have thought. I think he could come in and be a nice backup center if he can just do a couple simple things, which is like play in the dunker spot, play good defense, and just be strong, which that's going to be no problem for him at all. So late first round pick, early second round pick, I could see it. Coleman Hawkins is kind of an interesting one out of Illinois. He's like, I want to say he's a 5th-year player for them, at least I think so. He's like their backup big or something like that. I can't even remember exactly, but really impressive tools. Just turns the ball over a bit too much. But man, athletic freak and a big dude, so someone to watch out for. Yeah, I think that's gonna do it. I think that's probably where my interest kind of stops, at least for this draft. But yeah, y'all let me know what you think. Who's gonna rise in the draft? Is there anybody we're all sleeping on or somebody like that? Let me know in the comments below, and until next time, we'll see y'all later. Bye.